Hello everyone, welcome back to PokertutorPro. My name is Ram Siva, or Rath Ram Siva, or Wrath of Ram, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back to another episode of me trying to help you guys learn, become better at poker, and hopefully you can help me out too. Um, the past two videos I tried pretty hard. Thank you for your criticism. And honestly, if you guys leave a comment what you want to change or what you think could be improved, I'm totally open and willing to listen because I do want to make this better. And hopefully you could see me like making it a little bit better every video until it's something that is digestible, and hopefully you guys learn something through me teaching you guys, and hopefully there are people here that watch that could also teach me something. And leave your comments down below if you think differently in a certain spot. I would love to hear your comments because I personally, through teaching you guys, want to be the best and hopefully help you guys become the best. Okay, so today's topic is overbetting. I think it's a very strong play. I also think it's not used enough by most players, including myself. That's why I decided to talk about it so we could create a discussion, talk about the spots where we can do it, talk the spots about where it does happen. And that's about it. So we'll just start off talking a few points on overbetting. I think overbetting is very good to do in spots where people are capped. What does it mean by when I say capped? Well, what I mean is that when people have checked more than twice, more than once, uh, like they check the flop out of position, they check the turn out of position. So in these spots when it goes check, 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 these are spots on rivers where you could look to overbet because they have like a medium showdown strength type of hand, when people are capped. So they do how do we know someone's capped? So they do a bunch of checking. They do a bunch of checking, and a lot of streets, they check boards that are draw heavy. So what does draw heavy mean? It just means that like if the board is something like 8, 9, 10, club, so if it's like a flush draw on the flop and there's a straight draw, naturally thinking, we're not going to be checking more than once with two pairs, with sets, with straights, because we have a good hand, but it's vulnerable. So if we're doing a lot of checking the villain, that means his range is capped. He has a range that doesn't include very strong hands. That's what it means by being capped. It doesn't include the very strong hands, so he's left with a bunch of medium, low strength hands that can be moved off. I also think overbets can be used in spots where on the turn you have a combo draw and the person checked the flop. So that's a spot because now you're putting in money with your draw and you're building a big pot for when it does hit. An example of that would be, let's say the flop is 5, 7, 9, right? Let's say it's X, like rainbow. Let's say it's rainbow. And now the turn brings, let's say, let's say queen of clubs. Turn is a queen of clubs. And we have 8, 10 clubs. So let's say this is a turn, one club, turn brings the backdoor clubs. We now have a combo draw, up and down straight draw plus a flush draw. What this means is we could start piling in chips because we have a big draw and force him off his medium strength hands, and we could bluff a lot of rivers too. And we look really, really strong when we do this. Like, it's a very strong play, and I don't see it used enough. And if you could incorporate it in your game and find ways to implement it, it'll be really good for you. So those are two spots I could see overbetting work. Um, I also think overbetting works in spots where you have a you have a strong range advantage. So like if you're calling out of the big blind and it's like 4, 5, 7, something like that, flop goes check check, and then now you could come out betting huge on a turn with a 6x overbet because you have the range advantage one at being out of the big blind. So like when you're out of the big blind, you're calling a lot of like shitty hands, all sorts of hands. So like boards that are low connected or medium connected are boards that are gonna really help your range rather than under the gun or early position because they're not opening those hands. They're not opening 5, 6 suited. They're not opening 7, 6 suited. Some people are. There is people like I'm not saying this is a blanket statement, there are some people that do open these hands and are crazy. But we're saying on a general population basis, like I think the game's at a point where people kind of know not to be opening really shitty hands as a population. But like there is specific cases where people are crazy and those kind of guys, you don't want to bluff those guys anyways because they're playing a lot of pots because they want to win them. So if you're trying to come in there like, hey, I'm gonna outbluff you, that's not the correct strategy against a crazy aggro maniac. You know what I mean? You know, you want to trap him. You gotta set the trap and let him come in the trap. Okay. Now that I gave you guys a basic idea of overbetting and where we can use it as bluffs, where we can use it as value, and value spots would be, let's say we have a straight, like with Queen 10 on like 9, Jack, King. Flop goes check, check. It's a good spot to overbet because all his continuing hands are don't mind calling that bet. Actually, that's not a good example. Um, what I'm trying to say is like when we're in position and the board is draw heavy and you have a big hand, you could start overbetting there because their continuing range is either going to continue or not continue. They don't really care about the sizing. That's what you call them being inelastic. You know what I mean? They're just going to call regardless. So you might as well get the max value at that point. Um, all right. Sorry if you're new to poker. Like this is more advanced strategies, and I want to build a community of people who are a little bit, you know, have played for a while, understand a theoretical approach to the game, so that like I could take them to the next level. But if you're new, welcome. I hope you could learn a 1, 2 things. You know what I mean? Like I try my best to like break it down to a simple like beginner's level logic. You know what I mean? And if I use different words, just let me know, guys. Like, give me feedback. I'm always willing to learn. This is me trying to learn and teach you guys as I learn. So if you got criticism, hit me. I'll take it all. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be the best version of myself. So you know what? I'll take it all. Okay, we'll just start off with this one hand. Okay. So this guy limps. We got 60 hands on him. He's playing 60% of them and all pretty much limp. Oh, 7 hands and they're limping all of it. In terms of limpers, what characteristics do I find in limpers? Well, me personally, a limper is a person who's loose, passive. So they play a lot of hands, but they don't play them aggressively unless they hit. Unless they hit, they bet. So one thing we have to notice is these guys are like more gambly. Like they want to call, see a flop, and if they miss, they're just gonna give up on the hand. So these guys, when they're playing big pots and betting 80% pot, 100% pot, 200% pot, like you're screwed, man. They're not putting in money, or females, whoever is watching. If they're putting in money in the pot, you're damn well behind because they're not putting money in unless they are drawing and calling or they're got a big hand. That's literally it. They're not just not bluffers in general. Like so, like these passive limpery kind of guys, you just that's what you gotta go into the hand with. They're gonna play it straightforward. If they hit, they bet. If they bet big, they got it. Like in general. This is a flop where I was pretty unsure what to do on the flop, to be honest. I didn't want to bet fold 2 overs in a straight draw. I didn't want to fold that, so I just don't think he has any sets on this board either. I know he could have a lot of like 8-9 suited, 9-10 suited, Jack Queen suited, like all these Broadway suited hands, pairs, medium pairs. I just thought like I didn't want to bet fold, but now that I think about it, I think Ace King suited is a C bet here. It's just ahead of his entire range, and we just need to protect our ace highs in this point. It's not a made hand, so I don't want to check call it. Like, what kind of hands would be good to check call here? To be honest, in this situation versus a limper, I just wouldn't be check calling anything. I would be c betting pretty high frequency, especially with this hand. I think it's like far ahead of his range, and I should be c betting this hand. He's just not gonna rip a 5 or 3-2, and like we can move him off it by the river in a lot of runouts, and we have a lot of equity here. There's no reason to fear c betting. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I made a mistake here by checking. And I'm sure you can check sometimes also. Check again. We check call, like small bet. We still have a bunch of overs. And then this guy 2x's. Okay, first of all, let me try to explain to you guys villain overbets. In general, what I would think about population tendencies, again, specifically, a person could be a wild person, guys. Like, I'm not trying to say every single poker player does this. But what I'm trying to say is, like, in certain things, we got to group people into certain bins. And in this situation, like, I just don't find population over betting enough. Like, first of all, even amongst good players, like elite level players, I see them overbet bluffing, but even against like average good players, I don't see overbetting enough, and I don't see overbet bluffing enough. And on top of that, I'm just not seeing it enough with fish. Like they're not doing it at all. Like I see crazy rich billionaires do that stuff, but like outside of that, on the internet, it's just like few and far between. So when they're 2x potting, like they just tend to have value unless the situation doesn't make sense. And on top of that, we had the initial read that this guy pre-flop is loose passive. What are those tendencies? Well, these guys, unless they hit, they're not putting money into the pot. Like they're playing baccarat. They're just trying to hit a hand, and they're like put money in if they do. Like, and when they bet 2x pot, you better have 2x of a good hand because you are Donna. And so I obviously make a really bad call here versus a loose passive player, and he has 2 pair, which he played great. And I made a really bad call. He could easily have a 4. It's just like loose passive players are just not capable of bluffing like this. And yeah, and therefore I should fold. And in general, I think people who tend to overbet, who have tight stats, who on average are not winning players, are just in general not bluffing in these overbet 2x spots. And there might be specific cases and boards that they are, but I think like we could generalize them in this case. You know what I mean? I mean, we did hit our ace, but like, I also don't think he's bluffing this river card. Like, the ace hits me way more than it hits him, so it's like, why would he choose this card to bluff? If anything, he's choosing this card to get 3x pot value. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll move on to the next hand. The gun opens. Yeah, I think this is a mistake. I think in general, I think calling is fine. You're seeing the pot multi-way. It's okay. Like, it's probably making a bit of money. But 3-betting is way better. Like, in poker, we just always need to be 3-betting. Like, we should never, ever see pots multi-way. Otherwise, we could just go to the casino, play blackjack, and gamble. Because if we're trying to, like the odds say we even hit 2 pair 1 in 50 times. So, like, I'm sure a hand like Jack 10 suited flops draws 40% of the time, but still sharing your equity with more than one player is literally you being like, yo, let's just like try to make hands and see flops. And that way of thinking in poker is not going to make you money. It's just going to make you be average, to be honest. You should always want pots heads up. You should always want to be in position. Like, generally, the best winning players, that's how they approach the game. Like, they always want to make the pots heads up because now there is a strategic advantage to having position because 30% of the time, any two cards is going to miss. So if you're having the betting advantage, you're going to win it 70% of the time, not including the times you bluff them off and all that stuff. So it's like, I think generally the best players in the world are getting pots heads up. They're three betting a bunch and putting people in six situations. They're not seeing like, hey, let me call two bigs. Let's see a pot 8 ways, especially not in tournaments. Like I could understand it in cash games because you call two bigs and their mistakes are going to be so huge that they get 100 bigs in together. And then the huge mistakes later on makes up for like you playing a bunch of pots and seeing flops. But tournament poker, when we're working with 30, 40, 50 bigs, like winning every pot really does matter. So like increasing your chances of winning it is really, really, really important. And although, okay, so in this spot I do call, which I think it's fine. Like you're making maybe a bit of money with position, but like in general, like the EV of three betting is going to be way, way higher in most situations. And like trying to come up in poker, if you just want to like, that should be like your thought process in general. Like you should lean to three betting, but if it really doesn't make sense, then you should call. And so, yeah. In this case, I should have three bet. Another mistake, but it's okay. And if you three bet, you make under the gun really decide, am I going with this hand or not? You make this guy. I was afraid of this guy's call, but even then, like he rips on me and he has queens plus. Good for him. Like even queens and aces, you get 1 in 220 hands. So like we're worrying about ghosts if we think he has kings and aces. Like they get a 1 in 220. Kings 1 in 220, so we're worried about like ghosts, literally, if we think every time someone calls there, he has kings and aces, you know? So we just can't think of that game like, oh, what if he has a worst case scenario? We just got to be like, what is going to make us the most money in this point? And let me do it. And the outcome doesn't matter. So in this case, I should have three bet, long story short. And then we flop nothing. And now we see a pot four way. What? Am I going to bluff this board? No, I can't. But if I had three bet and I got a heads up, I'm barreling this board because this is my range advantage and I win the spot every time. And a big pot that is. But now that I called, now I gotta play bingo bongo, you know what I mean? So we're bingo bongoing it. We hit a real bingo on the turn. So we got the flush draw with the gut shot. And we bet 14K. I like this size. Although this card doesn't really change anything, we do have a flush draw. We start betting it. And then under the gun calls. He's like, okay, I'm a hero. And on this river, everything bricks out. 9, 10, 10 jack. Goddamn diamond, spades. The world misses. So, like, if this guy called a big bet with an ace, he's not folding to me. If he has a king, he might call too. So, like, I literally, after he double checks, remember earlier I said overbet spot where they double check? Because he's never double checking an ace here. He really isn't. So he has some sort of king or some bad ace. So I gotta literally represent a set of sevens. All right, literally that's what I'm repping. That's it. Set of sevens or an ace, like ace queen, ace jack, something like that. So I think if I am bluffing here, this is a good spot to overbet jam. Like, gotta make his bad aces fold. Gotta make his kings fold. And if I bet 40,000, he's going to call with his bad aces. Guaranteed. If I bet 25,000, he's definitely calling with his king. So in this case, I got to go balls to the wall. Sometimes you just have to pick up your pants, be a man, and just put all of the chips in and be like, hey, bro, It's either I'm getting out or you're getting out. Like it's one of us. Like, and that's what's amazing about tournament poker. We don't use enough the ability to put a person all in and make him make a decision for his tournament life. It's such a valuable tool that no people don't take into account. But people don't like busting. They love surviving. So if you could put them in crazy spots where you're overbetting them all in, you could be an incredible player. And that's why I like to talk about this topic, so I can at least open up the discussion for you guys on this. And then you guys could tell me spots, I could tell you spots, and then we could work on this together and just crush. You know what I mean? I get money. Okay. So yeah, I did overbet, and then the guy called me with a king. So what do I gotta do? See, this is exactly why we don't play bingo bongo. Because even if I bingoed, I still didn't bongo, and then I tried to use skill, and I still got bongoed. So it's like, guys, might as well 3-bet pre and get a heads up and sauce them. Because, for example, this same exact hand in this board played out. First of all, if I 3-bet pre, squeezing, queen king off folds. If under the gun one wants to call, be a hero, I'll bet small the flop, I'm ripping turns. I win this spot 100% of the time, and I make chips. But because I called and I'm bingoing and playing baccarat, I might as well go play blackjack because I still didn't hit. I lost a huge pot. So this is a prime reason for why, like, as a poker player, we should be thinking to look to the 3-bet. And if that doesn't make sense and someone might 4-bet jam or the hand is too good and it works well, this is the thing. Yes, I agree also. Certain hands do play really well post-flop multi-weight. Jack-10 suited, the Queen-Jack suited, the Queen-King suited, these hands. But outside of this, and even those we should be maybe 3-betting sometimes. Because allowing other people to realize their equity, even with their 6-5 suited or 5-7 suited, they're still going to hit 25% of the time or whatever it is. Yes, I agree that you can outplay them. You can. But Phil Ivey can't outplay 4 people in a hand. He got to play one person. But when there's 4 people, now you got to start making hands. So it's like, do I have to, am I going to gamble and try to make hands? Or am I going to pretend like I have a hand and try to win the pot? I'm going to pretend because that's the notion of poker and bluffing. And this game is so good because we could bluff and win the pot, and then we could win a lot of money. And bluff smart, though, like a sniper, you know? Like a lot of us start off bluffing like the guy in the front of the battlefield with the gun out shooting everywhere, like that. Eventually, you're going to bust the tournament because you can't do that. But if you become smart and know where to do it and when to do it, you become a sniper. And then you take out a stack. You take out a stack and end up winning. But yeah, so I mean, this guy literally sauced me. So like, good for him for this call. I do like my overbet sizing. I'm happy with the result. He is pretty capped, and I knew that, and I'm okay with that. And that's a really tough call, like with a gig. Like, so good for you, buddy. And that's what I get for not 3-betting pre. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Here we go again. Check. Yeah, this is a spot I don't want to 3-bet full my Jack-10 suited. It's way too good. I'm on the button. There's not many people left behind to act. So it's not going to be seen 70 way, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be seen like 4 or 5 way because, oh, everyone's getting equity to see a flop. Everyone. So now I'm just like, okay, I called the Jack-10 suited. Let's get it. We flop top pair. We don't want them to realize equity. We could call off the 10 big blind stack. And so we c-bet. This guy calls. So his range is like queen 10, queen king. I mean, we block some of the 10s. I think he might be betting queen king. I think he might be betting his overpairs. Yeah. I don't know what he has, to be honest. And then he 2x pot jams. So let's look at the line. He check calls the flop and then 2x pot jams the river. Again, like, I don't see fish bluffing in this spot. I mean, if we had like a heart in our hand, like an ace, a hearts, jack, I think that would make the best calling hands. But because he's repping the nut flush by 2x pot jamming. I mean, he could have king high flushes But like I said earlier about overbets with villains, like I think in general, most cases they're just like weighted towards way more weighted towards value than they are bluffs. Like from my personal experience, like I see the super duper sickles doing these bluffs, but I just don't see it lower down. And that's why we're having the discussion. Like I said, in order for us to start doing it, because that's what it takes to be super sick. So yeah, um, I just don't think the Jack 10 of diamonds is a good call. Like even a Jack King with a King of Hearts, like anything with a heart would make good calls, especially an Ace of Heart. Like Ace 9 with the Ace of Heart, but we don't even have offsuit Ace 9. So it's like I just don't see people do the check call and an overbet line on the river or check call bet big with bluffs. I just think he has just a lot of flushes. Like I said, let's see what I do here. I call, at least we get to see the result, and yeah, he has it. So it's like, also when they overbet, like we gotta be right so often. Like we're calling 100 to win 50,000. So if we're calling 50,000 to win 50,000, we have to be right 33% of the time. So if we have to call 2x pot, we literally have to be right like at least I don't know the numbers of this, but let's see. Let's try to figure it out. So if you call your 33%, so that's 100%. So I would assume like you need to be right at least 70-80% of the time, like somewhere around there. My rough math within my head, and I don't think we're really good like here that often. So yeah, I think a fold is necessary there. I mean, he is repping enough flush. He has it. Makes a lot of sense. All right, guys. We're going to do two more hands. I think we're getting to our 20-minute mark. Next time, we'll have a deeper discussion. I'll break down overbets. I'll break it down into a bin of overbets I make, overbets villains make, and we'll just like study those and just like break it down. But right now, we're just going to go through a rough five. We open the king deuce. I don't think this is open. I also think through reviewing a lot of my hands, the number one mistake poker players make and will literally define your poker career and how much you make in this game is your pre-flop opening ranges. Like if you don't have that in check and you don't discipline yourself, A, you're going to be opening too many hands. B, you're going to be putting yourself in too many bad situations. And C, because this is no limit and you don't get 100 bigs, you get 40, 30 in tournaments. You're just going to bust a lot of tournaments with mediocre gray situations. And it's such a simple thing to implement that a lot of players need to start doing. And that's opening the right ranges in the right positions. And including myself, like I should be folding this. It's just not going to make money in the long run. So it's like, not only is this not going to make, okay, this is a thing too, on top of this, guys. Let's say like King Queen suited has like a pretty high EV for a hand in terms of making chips. King Deuce suited, even if it's an open, it's marginally making EV, right? Like very little EV is it making because it's so far off of what I should be opening as an opening range in this spot. So it's like King 8 suited would be the opens, right? Something like that. So if this is marginally making EV and it's putting me in a lot of gray spots to make that EV, more than likely, if we're playing too many tables or if we're having a bad day, we're going to make a mistake and then lose that whole stack. And then that EV that you just lost with that hand is never going to be gained back because that hand itself doesn't make money. So it's like you're losing EV that you'll never get again from a hand that doesn't play well. And even if you do make money, it's marginally plus EV. It's like better to just get rid of those junky hands and play the good ones and just make the right plays and just focus on making the best decisions with the right hands instead of playing a bunch and trying to be a crazy guy. You know what I mean? Okay. I check the flop. I should definitely be betting this flop. There's no check calling. It's a marginal bottom pair. See, here we go. I open this hand and I still play it terribly. So it's like, why even open it? You know what I mean? It's like, we check, jack, we call, because we're so good. And we're going to play the king deuce suited like Phil Ivey. So here we go. Let's see how we play it. All right. Automatically, just looking at the Sky stats, he's not bluffing. He's played 143 hands I had on him. He's 3-bet 1.37% of the time. Literally a nit shitbox. I mean, he has loose stats. I'm not going to lie. But he's just not the guy capable of, like, bluffing in this spot. Another thing is that, see, we had 3 spots where the villain overbet. And all 3... I don't know what happened in this hand, guys. I'm just reviewing with you myself for the first time in a while. But just understanding that the population is just not bluffing enough in these spots. And also, one thing to note is on boards that pair the river, they are especially not bluffing. Because it's usually a bad card to bluff on. Like, if you're bluffing a paired card, people are just going to call a lot. So it's like population, especially a guy who's a reg who has 140 hands, is not choosing this rubber to start bluffing. So here we go. We open the king deuce suited. We're a pro. Let's see how we play it. Play it like a pro, probably. Call. Oh, wow. We win the hand. So I guess I was wrong here. He is repping trips, but I just don't think, like, in general people are bluffing these runouts. He is only repping a jack. I don't know if he'll overbet the jack on the river, so it's like I understand the reason for why I called. I guess I can open king two suited. But, like, just putting yourself in these spots in the long run isn't going to net you the most amount of money, you know? Like, I was right here. He's repping an extremely thin range. He's repping literally a jack X. He opens a lot of hands and plays a lot, so he's capable of having bluffs because he's 33-15. So it makes sense why I, like, summed up to the reason for why I called on the river. He doesn't have full houses. He's repping a jack and only a jack. It's like, what jacks do you have, especially ones that overbet the river. But if he did have a jack, he should overbet, to be honest. I guess I was wrong about pair boards. Again, it's just specific cases that will give you an idea that not, but just more often than not do I see, like, fish or rags just, like, having these spots. Okay, we're gonna do one more hand, guys. I know it's been a little long one, but hopefully you guys took away some things from overbetting, and the next video will be more in depth, and I'm gonna have it have some tools. So if anyone who's watching this can help me with Pile Solver, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you can help me, like, learn how to run it or whatnot, I can start incorporating the Pile Solver into my videos, and then help educate you guys even deeper within poker, and help myself also become better. But yeah, this guy's a loose opener. I don't mind 3-betting. I think I like 3-betting a little bit more than calling. And then just 3-bet fold. I think 3-betting is the way to go. I think if I had a suited big ace, like ace 10 suited, ace jack suited, that I didn't want a 3-bet fold, king jack suited, king queen suited, I would limp those, but this is not good enough to limp. But let's see what happens. Flop the top pair, check, check, blast, blast. Okay, this guy blasting into 2 people, one being a short stack. I gotta assume he has a pretty strong hand. Like, but when we have top pair, he's repping like 10-8 suited or something, 10-8 off. Yeah, I guess that's what he's repping. So we'll see what happens. He's just not bluffing enough into a 20 big blind stack. You know what I mean? And me too. Like, yeah. Repping is really thin. I mean, we do block the flush draws. He did blast into the short stack. I mean, like, what makes our best calls in this situation? I mean, we're never folding two pair. Ace 2, ace 10, ace 8, ace 5. For sure not. What are the worst aces we're folding? I mean, all aces are pretty much the same in this case. Because we don't beat two pair, right? So it's like, even if we have ace jack, it's not like he's betting worse than that. Let's see. I mean, we are pretty capped because we all check the flop. This is why, like, it's very damn important. Like, throughout my poker career and hand histories I've done, just allowing the big blind to come in with their wide range has just fucked me so many times. It's just crazy. Because you're just allowing them to realize equity, and then now people are getting better at bluffing boards that help them. So it's just like, you thinking that you playing it multi-way and winning the pot is just like I understand that, like, if you're a very good player and crafty deep, you could outplay people and make some plays and just like win more EV that way. But with big tournament poker, we don't get that many big blinds, so it's like winning the pot immediately and pre-flop is really important, or every earlier street, because as people realize equity, they have a chance of winning the pot, and there's only a few big blinds to go around, so it's like we gotta fight for all of them. So yeah, going back to this hand, like, he's repping 10 ace suited. In terms of the stats, he's pretty damn aggro. Like, setting, he's repping deuces. He doesn't have tens. He doesn't have. He can have eights. He can have deuces. He can have 10-8. He's repping a really, 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 really tight range. And does he have bluffs in this spot? I think he might have bluffs, to be honest. We're both capped. So I have to win here 30% of the time. Let's think of, like, if what bluffs he could have. Jack Queen he could have. Jack 9 he could have. He could have clubs. Although we blocked that. I wish we didn't have clubs in our hand. It'd be an easier call. To be honest, I don't even know if we win here 30% of the time. Just can't find enough bluffs here. Like, Jack Queen is like basically his bluffing hands. All 16 combos. If he is. I mean, he has the stats that's probably capable of bluffing Jack Queen here. And Jack 9. So that's 32 combos. What? How many combos of bluff value he has? Like 12, 16, 16, 12. I don't know. I think it might be a call. I think we're gonna be right around 30% of the time. Although it's not. I'm not happy with the situation. I think I should call. Yeah. Even though it is overbet. I think this guy's got enough aggressive stats that, like, he could have bluffs in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, he's playing wide in all the spots. Alright, let's call. Oh, yeah, he has a set. I just think that multi-way, they're just less likely to bluff hands like Jack Queen. And Jack Queen's the only bluffing hand he could have. Even that is not bluffing all the time. It's bluffing half the time, I would say. Because of the short stack. So that's like 8 combinations. Yeah, I just think he has way more value than he has bluffs. Like, he has Jack 9 sometimes. Like, and that he's not always bluffing too, right? Yeah, I just think we should 3-bet pre. Probably fold the river. This is like, he doesn't have enough bluffs, and I don't think people bluff enough with their draws versus 2 players and a guy that's short. Like, people tend to, like, bluff less when someone's short. But thank you for watching. I know I went a little bit over the time today. Hopefully you learned something. And if you liked the video, subscribe, hit the like, all that good stuff. And thank you for watching Poker Tutor Pro. Until in 3 days, I'll see you guys. Bye.